Welcome, SCRUMcademy family. I'm your Scrum coach, Scott Adams. Today, we're going to give you a special report. Something quite different than we've ever done before, but something that we feel very passionate about and that we need to speak on. This is on a shocking headline that's making waves in the tech industry. If you've been following the H-1B visa controversy, beyond the U.S. presidential debate, beyond the presidential campaign, this one's going to hit you hard. We're diving into an article where a jury just found a major tech staffing company guilty of discrimination against non-Indian workers. Stick around because we're unpacking not just the detail, the broader implications this has for you, tech workers, and Scrum professionals everywhere. Are we seeing a shift in the landscape? Let's talk about that right after this. First of all, I want to thank John. I was on vacation when he sent me this article. I looked at my text, I read the article, and ladies and gentlemen, when I first read this, I was floored. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was this bad. The idea of tech workers in Silicon Valley, it's not just Silicon Valley, by the way, being benched or fired simply for not being from a specific nationality. Wow. Do y'all reckon we'll ever get beyond nationality? I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like we're taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps backwards. Sometimes, do you feel that way? That's something I thought I would never see on such a massive scale when we go through the numbers in this article. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. As I go through the article, I definitely will give my commentary, tell you some stories that I hope will hit you to the bare bone. I hope you have empathy. I hope it goes down to your bone marrow and hits you that way, in hopes that ultimately you will embody the value in Scrum called courage and do something about it. And whether you have the ability within your company to do something about it, or whether you start all over and go to another company and begin to look at those real impediments and begin to solve those real impediments, because these are the type of impediments I deal with. Other stuff that happens on the Scrum team, they're not the impediments that I focus on. Impediments I focus on is people paid, people being treated right, making sure my team is diverse and everybody's included. As we go through this, I'll share some of those stories with you. So again, shout out to John for sending me this article. And he gave me proof of what I thought. But when I read it, I was floored because I'm like, whoa, my goodness, this is way terrible than I ever could have imagined. So let's dive into it. This article is from the SiliconValley.com. As you can see, the title, H-1B Visa, company supplying thousands of tech workers to Silicon Valley, discriminated against non-Indians, jury finds. Subtitle, non-Indians, bench, then fired, lawsuit claim. This is by Ethan Barron. Thank you, Ethan, for reporting on this. This is from the Bay Area News Group. Let's get into the article itself. My disclosure as I go through in my commentary, nothing will be scripted. I'm going to give you the raw and uncut version. If I say something out of the way, I will cut it. But when you come to the challenge, it will be really raw and super duper uncut. So for the sake of this here public video, it will be raw and perhaps cut. A company that supplies thousands of workers for Silicon Valley's technology industry and other Bay Area employees intentionally discriminated against non-Indian workers, a jury has found. The verdict against Cognizant, founded in Chennai, now headquartered in New Jersey, came Friday in a class action lawsuit that revolved around claims the firms abused the H-1B visa process. Now, this is a work type of visa. The visa is intended for workers with specialized skills, and Silicon Valley tech firms rely on it heavily to secure top talent and also to obtain workers for lower-level jobs with Cognizant and other staffing firms. Okay, so far so good. 3 U.S.-born workers described in the lawsuit as Caucasians. Described in the lawsuit as Caucasians. Described in the lawsuit as Caucasians. Vartan Pirumian of California, Christine Palmer of Arizona, and Edward Cox of Texas sued Cognizant in U.S. District Court in Los Angeles in 2017. Another plaintiff described as a Caucasian, Jean-Claude Franchetti, a green card holder from France, joined as a plaintiff later. The lawsuit claimed Cognizant ousted many non-Indian workers by first taking them off projects and benching them without work. Let's pause there for a moment. If you're not familiar with the word benching, I want you to visualize a sports analogy. Your favorite professional player is on the court, on the field playing, and all of a sudden they get benched. Now, the difference in professional sports is they're going to get their money whether they on the field or court or not. However, if you are a contract worker, if you get put on the bench, that means your hours will be cut and you're making less money for your home. I'm thinking about one of my students. We'll call her Nita. Nita came to my class. She was looking to rebrand herself. I didn't know this in the beginning, but after the class, I began to build a relationship with her, and she shared with me she worked for Cognizant, the only African-American, in fact, the only minority person I've ever have actually met that works for this Cognizant company. So after the class, she shared with me, she's reading the writing on the walls at her job, like what? They have changed boss. She had a Caucasian boss. Now she has an Indian boss, and her Indian boss is giving her tons of work. And she was kicking back on that work because they had other people in the company that it was their responsibility. And she was wondering, why is this my responsibility now? So when she began to kick back, old playbook, they ran a play on her. They cut her hours, put on the bench. So she went from 40 hours a week billing from the contract work to 20 hours a week. She's a single person living on her own. She got rent to pay, got bills to pay, and now 20 hours per week will not be enough to suffice all the bills that she had. So we began to work up a plan with her. Again, she came to the Scrum Masterclass to begin to look at ways to pivot because she worked for Cognizant. She worked in Silicon Valley for Google, right, as a contractor, doing things for them. So she's looking to pivot because she's reading the writing on Cognizant's wall that she might need to rebrand herself and maybe look at another company, maybe another field. So we're going through this process. She came up with some different options and whatnot. We tried some different things along the way. She applied for a few months. She took a step back. She called one day and said, I'm going to go join the military. I say, are you young enough to join the military? She said, yeah, I am like 2 years before the final number. I'm like, okay. I said, that's interesting. So she said of the 4 branches, she was going to go into the Air Force. Got all the stuff done, the preliminary stuff, passed the fifth, went through boot camp, and now she's back in California doing amazing things now as an officer for the Air Force. But what I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that was during that process, she was torn down. She was torn down. And I listened to a lot of Simon Sinek and talking about leadership. Now, if you're going to let people go, let them go with dignity. You got people working for you. Treat people like people. Don't try to find bull jive to try to get rid of them. Put them in position so that they can be successful. Give them the coaching they need. She's very coachable. She had a great relationship with the Caucasian boss she had, but now she has a new boss. And I'm sure behind the scene, Cognizant was making some moves. So that's just, that really just hits home for me. I hate stuff like that. And that's really why I love what I do here at SCRUMcademy. Her story is at least 1,000 other stories I got just like that today, right now I'm working on. Cases, my own personal cases, right? Exactly. So that is her. So let's go a little bit further with this article. She was benched. She wasn't making enough money to pay her bills. So she pivoted, rebranded herself, and got into another industry so she could pay her bills and the lifestyle that she wanted to live. So what happens when you get benched? You're probably going to quit. Because that doesn't feel good to nobody to get benched, to have your hours reduced from what you used to make to now what we're going to offer you. give yourself a 100% raise challenge. Sounding better and better to you every episode that I talk about it, right? I'm glad you followed. Now, bench them without work or little work, in her case, then keeping them benched until firing them in accordance with the company policy. She didn't get fired, but she saw the writing on the wall. Before I met her, her previous year evaluation was a stellar evaluation. She's doing more work than what she was doing before. And now with the new boss, now things go the opposite direction. You go from being a stellar employee to now you need to work on this. You need to work on this. Now we're going to put you on a performance plan. Really? Why are you going to play on people's intelligence and their morale in that way? I can't fathom that. I've been treated like that myself. I guess that's why I felt her pain. And if you've been through that, you see, I'm getting chills right now talking about it. You probably can see them on my face in this camera. Woo! So that is Nita. She wasn't fired. She quit because she saw the writing on the wall. Now let me transition and talk about John that sent me the article. John is a serial Scrum Master, which you will learn about very, very soon if you decide to come to the free Give Yourself a 100% Raise Challenge. Now, John was at a point where he was working maybe 3 or 4 contracts at this particular time. Now, John worked for an Indian company, not cognizant, but he was going through the same process. They put him on the bench. They began to give him less and less work. He read the writing on the wall. And he called me one day. He's like, hey, man, I feel like I'm going to get fired. Like, okay, what are the signs? What are you seeing? Well, they doing this, they doing that. I'm like, yeah, that's the old school playbook. Yeah, you read the writing on the wall. Yeah, you're probably going to get fired. He's asking me, well, what should I do? I'm like, well, you got 3 other gigs. You got 3 other contracts. It's not going to impact your family really at all. So you could go ahead and quit today, or you can just wait, see how it plays out. Because right now we just have speculation. So he wrote it out. They fired him. About 30 days later after we had that conversation, he called me. He said, Scott, guess what? I said, what, John? He said, I lost my job today, man. And he's laughing. I said, John, how does that feel? Now, probably 2 or 3 years before John became my client, John had lost his job once upon a time. But that was the only job that John had. So just like you, if you lose your job today and all you have is one stream of income, oh my God, you putting your family at a huge risk that you pretty much have to do with that company or wherever you work at. You got to do what they say, knowing that you're probably miserable as heck. I don't want that for anybody. Because remember, the reason I do Scrum is I'm trying to recreate the elements of a kindergarten class so everybody can unleash their superpower. And you won't do that as an adult until we're in an environment that is psychologically safe. All these other variables that go along creating that, you never will do that under those circumstances where you feel like you got to do something for fear of getting fired or whatever. Yeah, I can't stand that. So John got fired. We talking on the phone. And he was actually happy. He's like, man, it's a bird and all my. We laughing and joking about it. I said, John, how does it feel now that you got multiple streams of income versus back then? I was in that stage too, where I only had one stream of income and I lost that one stream of income. Oh my God, it was like the end of the world. Yeah, I know that feeling very, very well. If you never had that feeling, I hope nobody ever goes through that. That is rough. I mean, you feel like you're nothing when that happens to your family, to your friends. So that's John. John gave himself a raise previous years before that, still continued to give himself a raise. And let me tell you one more thing about John. I wrote about John in the book Mastering Millionaires as well. Talk about a story. You know John is in law school if you read the book. Exactly. The question becomes, you hear about this interview at the challenge. We're going to go deep dive into John. Yeah, he's going to be, he's raw and uncut anyway. So yeah. So you go get that. You can look forward to that. So John is in law school. But the question is, why is John in law school? Because John remembered all those bad times where he was working for a company that he felt like he was treated like a doggone slave. And John hasn't recovered from those wounds. John is very vocal. John is very confrontational now. John embodies the value of courage because he has plenty of money in the bank and he don't have to take what people just offer him. In fact, in the challenge, I'm going to tell you about a negotiating thing that he did. Go ahead and give it to you right now. A little bit off topic, but that's okay. Bear with me. It's good information for you. John called me about a week ago. He called me on a Thursday. He said, man, I need to give myself another 100% raise. I said, okay, cool. He asked me if I had any leads. At the time, I didn't have any leads. So he called me the next day, Friday. He said, Scott, I think I got an opportunity to give myself a 100% raise today. He had an interview that morning. Felt like it went well. And while we was on the phone talking, he said, man, this is the recruiter calling me back. Let me call you back. He did. He called me back in about 15 minutes. And they made him an offer. Now, the original offer was $35 per hour. And he shared with me, he said, Scott, I really didn't want the job. I'm eating popcorn. I told the lady right now I'm busy. I'm eating my food. I really don't want to be bothered with this. I really don't have time for this. She's like, oh, he's a developer. He's like, oh, John, we need your skill set. We need you to come and work. We need this. We need that. He's like, well, for $35 an hour, that certainly ain't in the ballpark. See, one of the things I taught John and I teach my students is, get the interview. If your skill set is what it is, forget the number. Forget the whatever they offering. That's just what they offer. Okay, but the question becomes, what can you negotiate? So that's not a turnoff for me. When I see $50 an hour on a contract or whatever, if it's something I want to do, I still have the interview. I'm very confident in my negotiating skill. I look at that number as, that's just a starting number. That ain't where we're going to end. I mean, right now, you ain't even in the ballpark with $35 an hour. He knew that. Say, hey, nothing else, I get practice on interviewing. So he negotiated $80 per hour. That conversation lasted 15 minutes. And he treated her like she was definitely inconveniencing him because he was trying to eat his Cheetos. He wasn't having dinner. He was just eating Cheetos, sitting in the chair chilling. You see, that is a rich Scrum. And I hope each and every one of you get to that point so that you won't ever have to feel in life that you have to take what is offered. What else can I say about John? Oh, forgot about this part. So now when John got fired from that company, about 2 months later, the company called him back. They said, John, we need you back, man. We need you to come back. Now, John and I knew why they was calling him back. Yeah, because he knew, again, this is an Indian company, remember? This is not Cognizant. This is another Indian staffing firm. And this Indian staffing firm has a contract with the federal government. Why is that important? Well, the federal government is very clear in terms of what you need and what you're going to have to keep that contract with the federal government. So they called John out of desperation and said, hey, John, we need you back because not only did you leave, but a whole bunch of other minorities left, and now we in a bind. John's like, what's your bind? Playing dumb, right? John's like, what's your bind? Well, we need you to come back. They made it sound like it was a skill set, but it was because of his skin color. John is a minority, right? Their numbers was off for that federal contract. So John knew he had them. You figure out the rest. John knew he had leverage. So he called me, told me about that deal. He said, Scott, what should I do? I said, John, I want you to think about, what do you want? I mean, go wow. What do you wow want? And ask for that. He called me back about 2 hours later. He said, Scott, I asked for wow stuff. And I got all of my wow things. I said, okay, John, when do you start? He said, I'm not going to take the job. I said, why? He said, because I'm no longer going to be a slave. That's what's up. I ain't mad at you, man. He had negotiated something like $200 an hour, all remote. He asked for some crazy stuff. He was going to get 30 days worth of paid vacation. That's unheard of as a contract worker, right? Oh, he negotiated crazy. Oh, he's a beast now. Oh my God. So that's John. Cognizant said Monday it was disappointed with the verdict and would appeal. We provide equal opportunities for all employees and have built a diverse and inclusive workplace that promotes a culture of belonging in which all employees feel valued, are engaged and have the opportunity to develop and succeed, the company said. Cognizant does not tolerate discrimination and takes such claims seriously. For those of you who are in the Scrum and Agile community already, you know in the Scrum world, we always talk about transparency. We talk about fairness. We talk about inclusivity in our teams. This case shows the opposite of that. If you got people happy, no way in the world they're going to throw a lawsuit against you, much less a class action lawsuit if they're happy with you. This case shows the opposite, how certain professionals can be sidelined just because they don't fit a preferred profile. It's heartbreaking and goes against everything Scrum and Agile stand for. This is in Silicon Valley. Tech, one of the tech capitals of the world. I think Singapore got a beat now, but it is still relevant. So in a tech environment, let me ask you this, just as a refresher. Do you think they're using project management only to deliver amazing value? Or do you still think they're using Scrum and Agile? Maybe even a combination of both. I don't know. But certainly project management alone is not going to get you to the destination by itself. You're going to need something else for complex or chaotic work. And they're doing a lot of complex and chaotic work there in Silicon Valley, stuff that hasn't been done before. Exactly. So Scrum and Agile is there too. So that goes against everything that it stands for. Let's go with more. Federal government data show Cognizant obtains H-1B visas for hundreds of Indian citizens to work in the Bay Area jobs per year, said Ron Hira, a Howard University professor who studies the visa and testified for the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. Data from 2023 shows Cognizant placed H-1B holders at Bay Area employers ranging from Google, Meta, Apple, PG&E, Kaiser Permanente, and Walmart. The H-1B one has become a political flashpoint. If you're following the U.S. presidential campaign, yes, that will be part of immigration policy. Critics point to abuses, including replacement of U.S. worker by visa holders, while the tech industry lobbies to boost the annual cap on new visas past 85,000. Woo! 85,000. Keep that number in mind. Let's go further. The most recent research by the Bay Area Council showed nearly 60,000 foreign citizens on the H-1B were approved to work for Bay Area companies in 2019. The vast majority are from India. Okay, I got a problem with that. Because of Cognizant's preferred for Indian workers, it seeks as many visas as possible. And the company has become the top recipient of H-1B visas by submitting visa applications tied to, check this out, jobs that do not exist, the lawsuit alleged. Now, here's my next problem. So I've already identified two problems. Let me identify my third problem. Okay, as we can see, 60,000 foreign citizens on the H-1B visas. Oh, let me give them some other information that you might be curious about. Do you know how many types of visas there are? Well, let's talk about that and I get into my next topic. Here are the type of visas we have in the United States. This is visaguide.world website. We have tourist visas, we have transit visas, we have medical visas, we have working holiday visas, we have student visas, we have work visas, we have family reunification visas, we have investment visas, we have official visas, we have refugee or asylum visas, we have digital nomad visas, we have retirement visas, we have pilgrimage visas, and many, many more, just to name a few. Scott, so why does that bother you so much? Now, let me tell you about another student that I have had. I remember one of my students from Iran came to my class, stayed up in late night hours because my class ran from like 10 in the morning to 6 in the evenings. Of course, there's a time difference there in the United States and Iran. So Sarah K came to my class. After that, or during that process, I knew before she came to class. Again, I'm just trying to give her every opportunity that I could do on my end for her to get to the United States. Now, check this out. Sarah K is 30 years old. Sarah Kay and her family had been trying to get here to the United States for at least 20 years. So you do the math. That would be 2/3 of her life. She's been trying to get to the United States on a work visa, an education visa, any one of the numbers of visas that are out there legally. She's trying to do that, her and her family, for at least 20 years. And she's still trying right now. It'll make a different life for her and her family. You see, I think about people like that when I see mess and nonsense like in this article. I get that every race and every company's trying to take care of their own. I get that. But there's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. This is the wrong way. When you're going to go give out visas for jobs that do not exist, you don't cross the ethical line at that particular point. Really? You don't cross the line. And when I read that, I thought about Sarah Kay in Iran doing all that work to just try to get here. I think about my Chinese friends that I've had the pleasure and the luxury to get to know, Vietnamese, Philippines, they all fit in the same category. The ones who have came over here to America and did it the right way, the legal way. As I began to learn more about them specifically, you see, because sometimes from the United States, you just take for granted that the rest of the world is like us. But that's not the case. I didn't realize the process was that long and that complicated for people like Sarah Kay in Iran. Now let's get to that. Let's talk about visas. Again, give you some education about this. Do you know what country has the most powerful passport? This is an article from Forbes, published September the 5th, 2024. The title of it is The World's Most Powerful Passport Rankings. Where does the United States fit on that equation? Well, as you can see, Singapore is number one. Let's look for Iran. Let's look for India. So you see India, you see Iran. I don't see it yet. United States, we're number 8. We have 186 countries that we go to and don't need a visa. That's a good thing. It means you can go a lot of different places without a whole lot of scrutiny. All right. Now let's go down and let's look at the least powerful passports in 2024. As you can see, India, Senegal, access 58 countries. So where is my friend Sarah Kay? Where does she fit? Let's go to Iran. 43 countries. Iran, for lack of better words, is not on the United States A list. They just can't take their passport and, like we have the luxury to do in the United States, put in our number, go online, get a visa just so we can travel, go see the place. Some places you can stay up there for like 3 months without any additional type of visa. But that number takes about 3 to 5 minutes. Yeah. For you to fill out the information, maybe a day to wait, depending upon where you're going. And all. When I went to Turks and Caicos, put my information in, boom. Wait a day, get them approved, give them a certificate to get in, boom, boom. No problem. But that's not the case for India. That's not the case for Iran. Something for you to think about to put that in context for you. Back to our article. For jobs that do not exist. Come on. Really? Really? That's why I'm so passionate about teaching people how to give themselves a 100% raise. I get it. Rules for the H-1B requires companies applying for it to have a job the visa holder will fill. Hero noted. And even Miss Sarah Kay asked me the same thing. Scott, do you know any companies hiring in the United States? If she was coming here on that visa, the job would already have to be open. She apply for it, she get it. See, all those variables are part of the process. Very nice. Perumia, a highly experienced software engineer, started at Cognizant in 2012 and was repeatedly moved from position servicing Cognizant's clients prematurely and replaced with less qualified Indian employees, the lawsuit alleges. Let me give you some more game that you probably didn't even know exists, but let me preface that by saying this. Have you interviewed lately? If you have, you know some of the changes that are taking place. Like what? If you are doing an interview remotely, a lot of times you're going to have to get on the interview call and identify yourself. You can do that through your passport, your driver's license, some type of physical ID. Okay. Now, why is that? What happened to get us to that point? Well, I'll tell you. This became really transparent during the pandemic. So we would interview a lot of people over the phone. And then the people show up for work. They sound very, very different from the people who we interviewed on the phone. So me and the other people who was on the interview on panel would talk to each other, say, that don't sound like the person we interviewed, but we couldn't prove it. Social Security match, everything. The name matched, but the voice didn't match. I'll let you figure the rest of that out. I'll do another episode on that. But let me go even deeper than that. Tell you about some more games. I ain't got no problem nobody making their money. Just do it ethically and do it legally. Watch this. I was in daily Scrum one day. Most people don't know I teach technology at Wilmington University. Nor do I put that on my resume because they're not hiring me for that. That'd be another episode. Talk about that too. Why do I do? Well, why do you do that? How's that working out for you? Yeah, definitely gonna talk about that. How's that working? You put all that stuff on your resume. Chances are you doing all of that stuff and only making a fraction of what one of those skill sets will pay. How you doing? No. Back to my point. I was in daily Scrum one day, and I noticed this developer didn't say anything. I noticed the other Indian developers would speak on this developer behalf. At first, I wasn't thinking nothing ill will. I just wanted to include the person into the conversation. And I said, okay, y'all, okay, Jack, okay, Gio, that's fine. Yeah, let Jack talk for himself. Let Gio talk for herself. The rest of y'all, they can talk. Can they talk? They talk English? Yeah. Okay, cool. Let them talk. And let them tell me what they're doing. They got up there. They was talking about a particular issue, and you know when people don't know what they're talking about. You can't hide that. And I can clearly see that this newly hired full stack developer did not know the full stack. See that mile away after they opened it. I didn't know. You don't know until somebody opens their mouth, just like you able to catch it. So this is at a stage where I'm trying to build a camaraderie with my team. So I knew Indians loved the game called cricket. And I built a good relationship with my team, all of my teams. Build a good relationship with them. I said, hey, what y'all doing this weekend? Oh, man, we playing cricket. Scott, you ever played cricket? Nah, I ain't never played cricket. Hey, you want to come with us? We're going to play cricket on Sunday. Boom, boom, boom. All right, cool. Yeah, I come. I drive an hour to come and play, hang out with y'all. And I want to build. That was one of the things I was looking at my team and figured out the team need this piece, this aspect to go to the next level. So I said, okay, cool. Take my Sunday afternoon, go play cricket. Had amazing fun. And I figured it'd be a great opportunity for me to talk to that developer about his skill set. So I talked to him. I was trying to catch him one-on-one, but he was around a few other people. I said, look here. I said, Jack, we'll call him Jack. Of course, his name ain't Jack from India, right? I said, Jack, you need to get your developer skill set up quick, fast, and in a hurry. Scott, what are you talking about? I say it again. You need to get your skill set, your developer skill set up very, very fast. I looked at the other guys, you know how they got that guilty look on their face. Like, oh, how does he know that? Don't worry about how I know it. I'm just giving you advice on what you need to do if you want to remain employed. Again, I ain't got no problem with anybody making their money. So I know that goes on. You might have even thought about that. I promise you, if you think about it, if you're a Scrum Master, that's one of the reasons why I like to get everybody involved into the conversation on my Scrum team, because I want to hear the individual talk, because now through them talking, they're going to let me know what they know or don't know. Now, I'm not looking for anything malicious or anything, but I am looking to create that environment where everybody can participate and be accountable for their work. I am looking to do that. And the only way I can do that is to hear your voice. So that's some more game for you. So it goes back to my point that I understand nationalities and races or whatever you want to call it. I know they're going to look out for each other as I would do for my own family. I get it. If I'm at a company, I can help my boy or my girl get in versus a recruiter going out and get somebody else. Yeah, most companies still, the most hiring happens that way anyway. I get it. But come on. Even if the person ain't qualified, really? Don't even have the skill set? Of course, the people who brought that person in, they probably working with them during the day, before the day, and after the work day. I get it. To help that person's skill set come up quick, fast, in a hurry, and to do to each other. But don't put yourself in a position. I knew that. I'm sure somebody else knew that. But of course, in that particular case, nobody did nothing about the issue. I mean, he got up to speed real quick in less than 30 days. He was where he needed to be. Again, after I had that little private conversation out on the field playing cricket, we was good. And they appreciated that. I ain't trying to rat nobody. I ain't trying to mess up nobody. I get it. Why are they doing that? Try to take care of them. Try to take care of their family, just like you try to take care of your family. Get that. Looking at the empathetic side. However, we got to follow the rules and the regulation. We didn't make them, but we got to follow. Cox, also with decades of experience, started at Cognizant in 2014 and was benched in January 2017, the lawsuit said. He interviewed for several open roles in the company, but less qualified Indian employees were selected. And he was fired while benched that April, the lawsuit alleged. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, you can typically read the writing on the wall before something's happening to your situation. Typically, you're not going to get fired without some type of visual or audio warning. You will hear chatter in the company. We get ready to lay off. You hear the chatter in the environment, whether you want to pay attention to it or not. But if you always are looking to give yourself 100% raise, then you won't have to worry about none of that. Palmer, hired in 2012, had not been benched, but also was repeatedly removed from projects and replaced with Indian workers, including after a forced transfer from Tucson, Arizona to California, and after another transfer requested by Cognizant from California to Phoenix, the lawsuit alleged. Palmer also claimed she was deliberately excluded from most team meetings, and a few times she was invited. That sounds like Nita. Yeah, that was some of the things Nita identified when we was having our one-on-one conversation. I was like, Nita, share with me the writing on the wall. Share with me the noise. How are they treating you? Are you going to the daily meetings? Like, nah, that's Scott. They ain't inviting me to no meeting. They ain't doing this. So she's working at a silo, trying to do her work, asking for clarification, trying to make sure she understands the requirements so she could do a great job. And she's not giving the support. Indian managers would turn their backs on her when she spoke, the lawsuit claimed. She alleged that discrimination in a hostile work environment forced her to resign in 2016. Now, let me call out something. I showed you the value of a passport in India versus the passport in the United States. If I'm from India, I think I will come here to the United States with a different amount of humbleness. So I'm coming from another country, and I'm coming into a country that's providing me with an amazing opportunity. And yet you go get here and treat Americans like poo-poo? Really? Now, the Indians I know personally, well, they beautiful people. Not like this at all, what I'm reading in this article. But I have applied for Cognizant jobs before in my past and never have got any reply from them. We know in the minority. In fact, we rich Scrum Masters know that if we have an Indian recruiter call us, don't answer the phone. Don't even waste our time. Why? Because they want information very quick, fast. But I have never got a interview from an Indian recruiter that has called me about an opportunity. Have you? Love to hear about it. All of my friends, and I'm talking maybe like what, 6,000 plus people? Yeah, 6,000 plus people. No, that's the word on the street, in case if you didn't know. If an Indian recruiter called me, I don't even answer the phone. I don't even reply back to the email. Because again, out of all the jobs that I've applied for, I have never gotten at least an interview from a recruiter from that nationality. Just saying. Those are my facts. That's my data. Now, what the data says in the world, I don't know. If I can find an article on that, we'll certainly talk about that as well. Franchitti with a PhD in computer science. Wow. At University. They certainly could use his skill set. PhD in computer science, was hired in 2007, and in his 9 years at Cognitive as a director and executive, he witnessed the company's preference for Indians on visas, the lawsuit claimed. When he secured new business for the company, his manager would staff the client projects with who? With visa-holding employees from India rather than non-Indian members of Mr. Franchitti's group who were already in the United States and available for this work, the lawsuit alleged. Now, one of the best business analysts I've had the pleasure to work with was, his name is Mukundan. He lives in Texas. Mukundan and I became very, very close. But through Mukundan, I got to see what life is like for Indians in America. He lived a very quiet life, nice neighborhood, get discriminated against a lot, go to the grocery store, people be called him all kinds of names. And he got to a point where he left his wife and kids home. He would go to the grocery store, get all the groceries, and go back home. Like, wow, man, I ain't know it's that bad. I can relate totally to what he's saying. Oh, totally to what he's saying. But I didn't expect that from Mukunda's perspective. And that's why, when I read an article like this, knowing what Indians and other races and nationalities go through, why don't we treat each other better? I mean, because we all get discriminated against. I mean, you really think about it. I mean, really? Like, really? What's the deal? Wow. So that was enlightening for me, for Mukundan, to share those experiences with him and his family. And he's like, in some cases, him and his wife and children be out in public. People just call them out of their name. And he's like, one day his wife said something back here, almost got into a confrontation. Person went to their truck to go get their gun. I'm like, oh my God, man, what happened? So, it ain't that serious. He said, after that, I kind of keep my family at home. I'm like, whoa, man, that's deep. And again, I could understand with my empathetic hat that we all just try to take care of our families. I get that. But there's a right way to do that and the wrong way. Just stick with the right way. Franchitti was fired in 2016 after complaining repeatedly that he was being made to sign hundreds of fraudulent invitation letters supporting H-1B visa applications for jobs that didn't exist, the lawsuit claimed. And I bet you right now, as soon as Sarah Kate get up, she's going to be working all day trying to understand, learn English to a point where it sounds like she's from here in America. Last few times I talked to her, she said, hey, I watched the U.S. debate. I'm like, why? She said, it just gives me an opportunity to practice English because if I'm going to get an educational visa, these are the type of things that I have to know pretty well for the possibility of an opportunity to get here in the United States. That burns me up. Just saying. To think about all the work she's putting in. And you got to develop, getting hired that HR can't see, don't know the damn job. Meanwhile, you got plenty of other qualified people sitting on the fence wanting that same job. But okay, you trying to take care of your people. Come on now, really? Interesting. The allegedly fraudulent letters are part of Cognizant's scheme to secure vast number of H-1B visas and build a robust inventory of Indian nationals to be placed in the United States companies when opportunity arises, the lawsuit alleges. You don't really need this article to tell you that. You can see that. If you're in tech, look around on your Scrum team. What is the majority of people that you see in tech on your development team, engineer team, whatever they may call it in your environment? Look around. Are they the best? No. They just the ones granted with the opportunity as of today. Africa's not on the list, by the way. Just saying. So, Scott, how do you deal with this issue? These individuals are giving first, if not exclusive, preference for new U.S. positions as they become available, the lawsuit claimed. Non-Indians are disproportionately relegated to the bench as jobs are given to Indians. But something that you can do as a Scrum Master to mitigate that is I have been on a Scrum team where I walked on a team that was all Indians. I've been on a team where there's been all men. I've never been on a team where there was all black people. I have been on some teams where there was all Caucasians. Remember, I'm in America, so I'm trying to recreate the elements of a kindergarten class. Not making the assumption that every place is like the United States, so let me give you some context. When I went to kindergarten school here in America, we're known for being the melting pot. We got people from all walks of life, all nationalities with the melting pot. Exactly. So when I went to kindergarten class, I saw people from all different nationalities having a good time, working on the sprint goal for the month. If it's October, we're working on Halloween, which is an international celebration. The next was going to be Thanksgiving. That would be United States. That's what I'm talking about, United States kindergarten class. And then the next one's going to be Christmas. So those are the next 3-month sprints for any kindergarten class here in America. Everybody's working on the sprint goal to build something amazing to take home to mom and dad. The difference is it's the same approach as in kindergarten class, but instead of building something amazing to take home to mom and dad, we're working as a team to deliver something amazing to our customers. And I don't believe that you can build the best anything, build the best, most wow thing for all customers if you don't have all personalities and people represented for the population that you are serving. It's impossible because we think alike, we operate alike, we see things alike. None of us. That's just human being to human being. Now, you can throw the other characteristics in it like age, race, nationality, ethnicity, and all those other things, and it even gets worse. But let's just keep it simple. Sex could be another. Most of Cognizant's U.S. workforce are on visas. The majority in jobs for which there is an abundance of capable, qualified U.S. workers who can do the work and want the jobs, Hero said. This could be why Mukundan and his family gets the backlash that he gets. Because you have some manager, some company acting like this, which is going to be a domino effect for other families within that community. I lost my job because of it. Yes and no. They didn't lose their job because of Mukundan. The jury recommended that the court hit Cognizant with punitive damages. End of the article. This was published October the 7th, 2024. Thank you very much for listening. So what does that mean if you're a Scrum or Agile practitioner? I suspect that if you're looking for a job, and if you see a federal government job that you're looking for, and if you see Cognizant as the agency to fill that job, if you're a minority, you're likely to get an interview. I'll put it that way. If you're not looking at a government job, I still would say as a minority, you probably would be likely to get an interview at this particular point in time. Why? Because all eyes are on them right now. And of course, their clients are Google, Meta, and they don't want to be associated with that kind of stuff. So I'm sure they're having conversations right now behind the scene. Hey, Cognizant, hey, y'all need to fix this, man. Think about your partner. I mean, think about your significant other. And if they doing something that goes against what you believe in, or if they doing something that making you look bad, then you got a conversation you got to have. And if it's really, really bad, then you have some decisions you have to make. I'm in the third quarter of life. So I'm thinking about a younger Scrum Master, maybe in the second quarter of life. Maybe you want to take on this challenge and go work for a company like that and help turn the ship around, because we as Scrum Masters are change agents. That wouldn't be something that I would like to embark upon. And that's what John said in regards of his decision of not going to work for another Indian staffing company that is not Cognizant. I got to look at my values. I got to look at my principles. We're rich Scrum Masters. We don't need to take what's offered because we made decisions. We living off what we did 5 years ago. Everything else is literally gravy. I got into this game to eat for my family, provide a lifestyle for my family, but I stay in the game to feed all the students that have came and are coming to SCRUMcademy, namely with the Give Yourself a Raise challenge. It's all about opening your mind to see possibilities. I've started that process. This is a snippet of what you can expect. We talk about no articles, but we talk about how can you give yourself a 100% raise? How can you double your income in about 90 days if you so desire? So I'm giving you tips now that I won't talk about this in the challenge. Now, this is a question that comes up, but here's a tip for you. You can give yourself a 100% raise in about 90 days. Free tip for you. Because again, my goal is to help as many people as I possibly can help between now and 2030 to become millionaires. Well, Scott, what's going to happen in 2030? I don't know. I have other dreams. I have other aspirations. I have an aspiration that in Turks and Caicos Island, as I've talked about on Friday night study sessions with students I teach all over the world, that I have a vision that all Scrum Masters are going to come out there with me on Turks and Caicos Island. We're going to rent out this private luxury island, Ambergris Cay, right? And we're just going to have a Scrum Master reunion, talk about, hey, you remember when you was in my class? You remember when this was going on with you? Look at you now. Hey, can I borrow $100,000? I got this charity I want to invest in today. I'll pay it back to you next week, next month. That's the kind of conversation I want to have. And that's what I'm working on now. So as we wrap up today's episode, here's a tip for you. If you on the sideline looking for a job as a Scrum Master or looking to maximize your income, should be one of your number one priorities to bring in the most money that you possibly can for you and your family so that you can live the lifestyle that you want to live. Yeah, we got a job to do, but that's after you get the job. But in terms of your negotiating to get to that point, you should be looking at the maximum amount of money that you can possibly bring in. Very nice. So one way you could look at this is, okay, if you're a minority looking at Cognizant, again, if it aligns with your values, if you feel like you're definitely going to be a change agent, or you are a change agent, and if you feel like this is a change that you want to embark upon, apply, see what happens. You may be the one to help them turn things around and to help create that American kindergarten class where we have people from all different walks of life, nationalities, ages, all of that. So if you want to take up that challenge, I highly recommend you do that, because through this article, yeah, even though it's bad, there's always two sides of every coin. When there's something bad, there's also have to be something good. The good is the opportunity here. So somebody's looking for an opportunity. Hey, if you want to take that challenge on, go to Cognizant. Maybe you can help them turn the ship around. I'm sure they're going to change. But again, they dealing with the Magnificent Seven or whatever the name is. It's probably going to change again tomorrow, whatever. They dealing with the top 7 companies of the world. So they ain't going to stand for no negative publicity. So that creates an opportunity for you if you want to look at it from that standpoint. I'm thinking about it like an investor. When I invest in stocks, we don't know what stock's going to be good or what's going to be bad. We take what the market gives us, just like in playing sports. I mean, if you played sports before, yeah, we have a game plan. We have things laid out in terms of the games that we're going to play, how we're going to play the game, but you don't know until you actually get in the game. You have to be agile and pivot if necessary. So again, you're making up the money you want to make. If I was to apply for cognizant, I would be like I told John. I would ask for the world. In fact, I would ask for 2 worlds, maybe even 3 worlds. I would ask for Jupiter, I would ask for Saturn, and I probably would ask for Pluto on top of Earth. That would be my negotiating strategy in a nutshell. You see, because in life, you don't know what you're going to get unless you ask. Maybe it could be as simple as you didn't ask for what you want. Perhaps. Something to think about. As we wrap up today's episode on the complexities of H-1B visa and its impact on the tech industry, it is clear that while these visas can bring necessary talent to our shore, the potential for misuse can lead to significant inequalities and unfair labor practices. For all the Scrum Masters, Agile practitioners, and tech professionals out there, this highlights the importance of ensuring that our workplaces not only champion diversity, but also uphold fairness and equality for every worker, regardless of nationality or whatever. If today's discussion has sparked your interest in securing your own professional future against such uncertainties, I invite you to take a proactive step to give yourself a 100% raise. This challenge is designed to empower you to leverage your skills and agile mindset to dramatically increase your earning potential and assert more control over your career trajectory. By joining, you will gain access to strategies, insights, and a supportive, exclusive community that will guide you towards doubling your income in ways that align with the principles of Scrum and Agile, transparency, adaptation, and growth. And in the meantime, I would challenge you to don't wait for external circumstances to dictate your career success. Take action now. Join the challenge. Start building a more secure and prosperous future today. Visit our website at www.giveyourselfa100raise.com to register and become a part of a movement towards financial empowerment and professional excellence. Together, let's turn these challenges into opportunities and aspirations to achievements. Thank you for tuning in, and remember to stay agile, think big. Your path to becoming a rich Scrum Master starts right now.